My name is Jason Yu, and we are reading Who Was Nikola Tesla? Chapter 1 to Chapter 3. I hope you like it. Who was Nikola Tesla? Nikola Tesla was 7 years old on the day the people of Koskik, in what now is modern-day Koroda, received a brand new fire pump. The town had organized a fire department for the very first time. The firefighters trained hard to learn to work together, but it was the fire pump that everyone wanted to see. It was a really big deal. The pump let firefighters move water from the local rivers and direct it into flames in order to put out fires quickly. The leaders of the town organized a celebration to show off the fire pump. Everyone is in gossip, say garbage. On their best Sunday clothes, they gathered around when the machine was brought down to the river. There was a ceremony and several people gave speeches. Then came the big moment, a demonstration to show how the pump could spray water. The new machine was painted black and red. It needed 16 men to work it. They took their positions, turned on the hose, and nothing. No water came out. The pump didn't work. None of the grown-ups was sure what to do, but young Nikola had an idea. "I know what you do, Minister." He told one of the men in charge, "You keep pumping." Nikola jumped into the water and felt for the hose. There was no pressure. He tried to picture the reason in his mind. He thought something might be blocking it. Quickly, Nikola found the problem. The hose had been bent sharply in one spot and stopped the pressure from pushing the water out. He straightened out the line and water surged through the hose. The crowd cheered. Many of the people got wet, but they didn't mind. Nikola was a hero. They carried him off the shoulders. Before Nikola jumped into the river that day in the early 1860s, he didn't know anything about fire pumps or water pressure. He just knew there was some reason the machine was not working properly, and he knew he could figure out a way to fix it. Nikola never lost his gift for figuring things out. He grew up to be one of the most important inventors in the history of the world. He helped create the technology that led to radios and remote control devices. He imagined cell phones and the internet many years before anyone heard of such things. He created a motor that helped power machines around the world. He is the most famous for helping to bring electricity into homes everywhere. Nikola had a talent for picturing a problem in his mind and figuring out a way to fix it. Luckily for us, he loved to develop new and better ways of making things work. Chapter 1. Learning Experiences. Young Nikola Tesla was a very smart boy who one day did something not very smart. He tried to fly. He went out to the barn at his family farm, carrying an umbrella. He climbed to the roof of the barn, opened the window, and jumped off. Not surprisingly, Nikola fell directly to the ground with a thud. Fortunately, he didn't break any bones. He spent several weeks recovering from the fall. Then he was as good as new. Nikola wasn't even 6 years old at the time. There was no such thing as an airplane then. He didn't know about gravity or lift or the forces that allow things to fly. He didn't know it was not possible to fly simply by holding an umbrella in the air. The only thing Nikola knew was that he could picture himself floating through the air with his umbrella, and if he could picture something in his mind, he believed he could make it work. The Tesla family farm where Nikola tried to fly that day was in a village known as Smiljan. That's where Nikola had been born in 1856. Smiljan is in what is known as the country of Croatia, but Nikola's family was Serbian. Serbia is a neighboring country. Nikola's father was Mutin, the priest in the local Serbian Orthodox Church. Orthodox priests can be married and have children. Mordin wanted Nikola to be a priest just like he was. Nikola's mother was named Dujoka. She ran the family farm and had never gone to school. Dujokua had never even learned to read or write. Her mother had become blind when Dujoka was still a young girl, and as the eldest daughter in the family, she took over running the household. There had been no time for school. But Dujoka was a very intelligent woman who had an incredible memory. Word for word, she could remember stories from the Bible and poems she had learned. Her husband was an educated man who wrote poetry, owned many books, and spoke German and Italian in addition to his native Siberian Croatian language. Morton probably recited many of his books to her. The Joker worked tirelessly from dawn until dark around the farm. She often used tools that she invented herself, such as the mechanical egg beater. I must trace to my mother's influence whatever inventiveness I possess, Nikola once wrote. Nikola had two older sisters, Milka and Angelina, and one younger sister, Marcia. He also had a brother, Dane, who was 7 years old. Tragically, he was killed in an accident involving the family's horse when he was only 12 years old. Like Nikola, Dane had been very smart. Nikola's birthday was July 10th. Most accounts say he was born just as the clock struck midnight, turning July 9th into July 10th. Outside, the thunderstorm flashed lightning in the sky. The flare of lightning at his birth was appropriate because electricity soon fascinated Nikola. When he was 3 years old, he loved to play with Maka, the family cat. One cold dry day, while he stroked Mac's fur, he saw little sparks. Nikola was amazed. He didn't understand what the spikes were at the time, but he knew he wanted to find out. It's electricity, his father explained. The same thing you see through trees in a storm. Nikola followed his mother's example by experimenting and coming up with his own ideas. When he was 4, he developed his first invention. One day, the other boys in the village went fishing, but they didn't take Nikola with them. Determined not to miss out on all the fun, Nikola made his own fishing line with a hook on the end of a string. He didn't have to bait to tempt the fish. His homemade line didn't work, but while Nikola was trying to figure out what went on, a frog leaped at the hook. Nikola grabbed him. It turned out that his fishing line was really a frog catcher. He returned to the farm with nearly 24 frogs that day. All the boys in the neighborhood liked to play with frogs. His friends hadn't caught a single fish, but they were happy to learn Nikola's secret for catching frogs. When he was 5, Nikola began going to school in the village. He studied math, religion, and German. Outside the classroom, he was always learning too. Once, when Nikola was playing down by a stream in the village, he noticed a small slice of tree trunk shaped like a circle. Nikola cut a hole through the center of the wood. He found a tree branch and pushed that through the hole. Then he rested the ends of the branch on the opposite banks of the stream. The slice of the tree trunk was partly in water. The wheel began to spin. The force of the water made the wheel turn round and round. Nikola had taken energy from nature, the stream, and generated enough power to spin the wheel around. Chapter 2: Scientific Mind. The Tesla farm had many types of animals, including chickens, sheep, and geese. Nikola especially liked to watch the geese. In perfect formation, they flew off each morning to their feeding grounds. In perfect formation, they came back at sundown. It was a shock to 7-year-old Nikola when the family moved to the nearby town of Gospic. His father had been sent there by his church to become the pastor of the town's Orthodox parish. The pastor is the religious leader of a certain region. our community. Gospic was only a few miles away from Xinjiang, but for Nikola, it was a world of difference. Gospic was much bigger than his cozy village had been, and many more people lived there. The Tesla family lived in a house in Gospic, not a farm. Nikola had loved going into the woods of Xinjiang. He liked to play by the stream, experimenting with his water wheels. But in the new town, Nikola was too shy to wander from the house much at all. I would rather have faced a roaring lion than one of the city dudes who strolled about, he said. But Nikola was required to go to his father's church every Sunday. He was gladly to be given the job of ringing the bell before and after each service. It meant going up into the bell tower called a belfry, away from the city dudes. Before the church began, Nikola would race up the steps to the belfry, ring the bell. After the service was over and everyone had left, the church had raced back down the steps. One day, Nikola didn't realize that not quite everyone had left the church. A wealthy woman in a fancy dress was making her way outside. He had stopped to talk with Milton. Nikola barreled down the steps 3 at a time. He took his last step, and to his dismay, saw that he was heading straight for the long edge of the woman's dress that trailed behind her as she walked. It was a direct hit. The back of the dress tore with such great ripping sound that many of the churchgoers rushed back inside to see what happened. The woman was furious. Milton was embarrassed, and Nikola was in trouble. And after that, Nikola left as if no one in town wanted to even talk to him. He worried about it for a long time. He didn't feel forgiven until he became the hero of the day for being smart enough to fix the hose on the new fire pump. In Gospic, Nikola completed his elementary school during the day. At night, he read the books in his father's library. Of all things, I like books the best, he said. Nikola would stay up late into the night reading. His father thought Nikola was going to ruin his eyesight. Milton thought that maybe Nikola liked the books a little too much. He took away the candles Nikola needed to read at night. So Nikola went to his room and made his own candles. He blocked the space underneath the door and the keyhole so no light could be seen from the outside. Sometimes he stayed up all night reading until his mother began her morning chores. In one book, Nikola read about a place in North America called Niagara Falls. Nikola pictured in his mind a giant water wheel like the one he had built in his small village stream. He pictured it at the base of Niagara Falls. If his little homemade water wheel could work, how much power could a huge wheel powered by the force make? Even then, he was imagining technology that didn't yet exist. Nikola showed his uncle Joseph a picture of Niagara Falls. One day, Nikola told his uncle he would travel to America and make his idea work. When he was 10 years old, Nikola entered the Rio Gymnasium in town. In Europe, a gymnasium is another name for a school. Rio Gymnasium was Nikola's middle school. The way Nikola did math problems in his head amazed his teachers. They thought he might be cheating. He wasn't, though. When Nikola was given a problem, he easily saw the solution in his mind. To him, visualizing figures in his head was no different than working them out on the board or a piece of paper. Chapter 3. His Own Path. In 1866, when Nikola started at Rio Gymnasium, it was a new and fairly well-equipped institution. He said its classroom had scientific equipment that was modern for the time. Nikola liked it most when his teachers conducted electrical and mechanical experiments. He enjoyed his 4 years there, and he completed the program with high marks. The town leaders in Gospic were impressed. After graduation, they asked him to make a list of all the books they had in the local library. Before Nikola could get the job done, though, he became very sick. He was forced to stay in bed for weeks at a time. His doctors feared he might die. Nikola spent his time reading books from the library. One day, he discovered a collection of books by Mark Twain. His stories made Nikola laugh. He enjoyed them so much they almost made him forget how sick he was. Mark Twain's book helped Nikola make the miraculous recovery that followed, he said. In 1870, after Nikola had recovered, he moved to the city of Karabakh to live with his aunt and uncle. He attended to the Higher Real Gymnasium High School there. Unfortunately, Karabakh was a swampy area with lots of mosquitoes. Nikola hadn't been there long before he became sick again. This time, he had malaria, an infection caused by mosquito bites. Nikola's aunts and uncles took care of him, and he got better. He liked his aunt and uncle, but he liked school even more. And as usual, when Nikola liked something, he threw himself into completely. He worked so hard that it took him only 3 years to finish the 4-year program. At Higher Real Gymnasium, he was especially impressed with his science classes and science experiments. Every time his professor finished an experiment, Nikola's mind raced with 1,000 questions. Thank you for listening to Who Was Nikola Tesla, Chapter 1 to Chapter 3. I hope you like it.